Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we will see one of the important thing in the UiPath projects or workflow, which we normally use in almost all the projects. So it is important to know all the activities present under that head and when to use which activity. So I'm talking about the asset activity. So we usually use it in almost all the projects we have. So we'll be covering all the asset related activity in the orchestrator. So these are the 4 activities that you can see in the activities panel. One by one, we'll see how to use each one of them. And then accordingly, we can decide in our use case or in our project, which activity have we to use. So let's get started. So first we'll see get asset activity. So this activity basically gets in the asset values you have created in your orchestrator and gives you the output over here. So then what is the difference between get asset and get credentials? So get credentials basically gets in the credential, that is the user ID and password. So as we are aware that there are 4 types of assets which can be created in the orchestrator. Let's go to the orchestrator and see it there. So if I go to asset and I create an asset here, so you can provide in the asset name, and then you can create 4 types of asset, which are basically type, bool, integer, and credentials. So when you have to get the credential values from orchestrator, then you use get credential, because then it gets in the password value in the form of a secure string to you to use it in the workflow. So, and also one important thing is that when you create in this asset, you can even have this thing into consideration that there are 2 type of folder, the classic folder and the modern folder. So in modern folder, all the assets that has been created is usually globally present across all the robots and all the processes you have in your orchestrator. But if you create your asset in classic folder, as I am creating right now, so you can even make it available to a certain robot. So if you just select this thing, so it will then not be globally present, and you should at least then select one robot to which this value should be made available. So if you create it in classic folder, then you can even adjust this thing that you want this asset to be only available to 2 robots or 3 robots. If you want it to be globally present, then make sure you check this thing so it would be present to all the robots. So let's create an asset of the type text. I already have it created. I'll just edit a value. So if I change it to this is a demo asset, and I'll copy the asset name from here and I'll just update this thing. And now I'll go back to studio and I'll have to pass in the asset name here in the string format. So I've passed it, and now I'll just get the value. What is the value of this asset? And I can drag in a message box to write this value. And let's run it to see that it shows the correct value or not. So it should print this is a demo asset. You can even add in the description when you create the asset so that it's accordingly, it's easy for you then to, if you have a lot of assets, that for what exactly have you created this, but this is optional. So we have got that this is a demo asset. So similarly, if usually what happens that we store in the config path in get asset. So we get the config path from there, and then we can read the config situated at that path. So this is the use of get asset when we make a full blown project in RE framework. So the get asset is used there. Now, if I talk about set asset. So according to use case, there could be a scenario where you have to change the value of a set. Suppose you have some asset created, and if this flow is successful, then you have to update the asset value to true. And then the next flow will check whether the value is true or false and accordingly will act. So like this, based on your scenario, you can use it. So now if I have to change this value, I'll first mention that this asset value, this is the asset value which I have to change. And then I will type in the value, what I have to change. So I'll type in value changed and I'll run it. And let's see now it will first change its value to value changed. Then will get asset would get that value and then would print in that asset is changed, sorry, value changed. Okay, so we got an exception here. It says operation returned an invalid status code forbidden. So this is because your robot does not have the right to set the asset value or change the asset value. So to overcome this error, what you have to do is you have to go back to your orchestrator. You have to select users. You have to go to roles. So this is the robot. There are two types of basically role, the administrator and the robot. So you'll have to, edit the permissions your robot has. So you'll go to folder permission and you see assets. So you only have the view asset permission. So you'll also give edit permission to change your asset. You'll review the warning and you'll update it. So now you have the required permission to change the asset value. So if we see the value is still, this is a demo asset. And now if we run this thing, so it would be able to change the asset. Earlier it did not change because the robot which is running this thing does not has the required permission to change the asset. Okay, so we got this value changed. And now if we go back to the orchestrator and see, let's just update this thing and see whether the value is changed or not. Okay, so we got this value changed. So this is how you can use get asset, and you can even, use if you set it to some other type. Suppose you don't want it to be a text or your use case does not demand it to be a text. So you can even, change the type from your. Okay, so you cannot change the type once you have created the asset. So you'll have to just create another asset whose type you can set in. So I'll just name it test asset. And I'll make it to bool, and you'll just have to select in the whether you want true or whether you want false, and you can create it. Similarly, you can have an integer also where you can pass in the value. So you can even, use this asset to store the maximum retry number in case you want to. Usually what happens that you must or you should prefer to store the maximum retry number in config. But yeah, this can also be used to store the maximum retry number here. Now, if we talk about the credential thing, so let's create a credential. So test cred, we'll mark it credential, and then it will ask for username and password. So I'll type in username as Anmol and I'll type in password as 12345. So let me just check it. So it's 12345 and I'll create it. So I've created it. Okay. So I'll just copy this thing. And you see the value is not shown because it contains confidential information. It contains your password. Now, if I just go and I get in the credentials, so what I have to do is I have to type in the credential, the asset name, and then I'll type in the password. I'll declare a variable to whose password will get assigned. Okay. So Control K, I'll type in password, and Control K, I'll type in username. So if we now see, go and open see what's the data type of password variable. So it's secure string. It's not normally string which you can print in and see, but instead it's secure string. So you won't be able to print it like that, the password, but yes, you can obviously convert your secure string to string, and then you will be able to see the password. Okay, so let's print in the username. And if you want to print in the password also, then you'll need to convert it to a string. So let's convert it to a string, the secure string to string. For that, you'll write new system dot net dot network credential. Then you'll type in string dot empty, comma. Now you will type in here secure string. So you have password. So this you'll have to convert, and then you'll type in dot password, and you'll assign it to a type of string variable, str password. Okay. Yeah. And it has been converted now to a string type of thing. This is really not advisable that you convert your secure string to string and then you pass it in between workflows or you print in, because this is information which is confidential, and it should be handled in that way. So now let's run it and see what value does it get. We'll just delete and set asset and get asset, and we'll check. So it will get in the username, which is Anmol, and it will get in the password name, which we have entered as 12345. So let's check. So yeah, this is the username and this is the password. So similarly, you can then use set credential to change in the password. So now suppose let's copy this asset name. So we have to update the password, or we have to update the username. Accordingly, we can pass. So you'll have to pass in, okay, now my password will be 1234567 8, and my username would be Anmol. And now let's run it. So it will first update the username and the password, and then the get credential would get us the updated username and password. So in this way, based on your workflow or based on your use case project or scenario, you can use in this set a set, get a set, set credential and get credential. So we get in the username here, and this is the updated password. So that's all for this video. And in the next video, we'll be covering that how we can use in the system related credential activities, wherein you can get in all the credentials without the use of Orchestrator. You can get those credentials and set those credentials. So thanks for watching the video, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.